Hey moms and dads, thanks for tuning in for part 2. Dr. Garrett with you here from Foundation Chiropractic, and I want to go over the second part of this autism series and how you can change the trajectory of your autistic child's life. So the first thing we talked about is primitive reflexes, and what I'm going to talk about is how if your child still has primitive reflexes present, that's showing that we can help, okay? Because the thing is, all these things I listed, the primitive reflexes, the core stability, the motor system, and the hemisphere imbalance, all those things can be improved, okay? That's the great news. So first and foremost, primitive reflexes. What are they? What do they do? Primitive reflexes are reflexive movements you have when you're born that are housed right here in your brainstem. So a very, very common one they call the palmar grasp. You do this to a child, they do this, right? They sense it and they move. It's a reflexive movement, okay? Well, what we know about the brain is the brain loves movement, and we'll talk about this more in detail, but if you exercise, have you ever noticed that people feel better after they exercise mentally? There's more mental clarity, they're less stressed out. That's because that movement fed their brain. Your brain loves movement. Well, your brain is also built on movement, okay? When you're born, only about 20% of your brain has developed. The other has to be developed through movement experiences, okay? Many of which come from these reflexive movements. So what happens is, every time you touch a child like this, they move, and what that's doing is that's building pathways from their hand through their brainstem up to the brain. Okay, every single time. Another reflex is this. You do this to a child, they'll root, right? Like they're looking to feed. They're learning how to use their facial features in their mouth. And all in all, we check, I think, 8 to 10 reflexes on kids. But anyway, these reflexes, they teach the child how to use their body, right? They're building the pathways to their brain. They're building their brain. Well, at 6 months of age, those reflexes should be gone. Because the brain, the higher cortexes, you have a right and left cortex or hemisphere in your brain, at 6 months of age, they should be strong enough to know the child knows how to use their mouth. They know how to use their hands, right? Everything's growing and developing, maturing the way that it's supposed to. So at 6 months of age, these reflexes should go away. Well, guess what? In every child I examine that has autism, they have primitive reflexes present. What is that telling me? Well, it's like a house. Your house is built from foundation up, right? Your brain is built bottom up. It starts in the brainstem with primitive reflexes, and everything else is built bottom up by these reflexive movements, okay? Well, if a child has primitive reflexes present, what that's telling us is that there's immaturity, right, in the nervous system, in the brain. There's weakness in the brainstem. For whatever reason, that maybe wasn't stimulated enough, but for whatever reason, that reflex didn't go away, which means there's immaturity in the brainstem, and the brainstem builds the brain. So if there's immaturity in the brainstem, guess what? There's immaturity in the brain. So what we can do is adjustments really help target these primitive reflexes and can get rid of them. Light and sound stimulation, specific movement patterns can also do it. So what happens is once we start addressing these primitive reflexes and we start improving them or getting rid of them, the brain naturally becomes stronger. When the brain becomes stronger, guess what? Children start to become better, right? So this is a big part in all the kids that we see is primitive reflexes. Very, very important, okay? If you have questions, reach out. We're here to help. Okay, we're here to help you guys and coach your parents along in any way that we can. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it.